Bonjour à tous. Je suis ravi d'être ici aujourd'hui. It's been a great week for us here. The Cochrane Collaboration coming to the newly re-established French Cochrane Centre, and we are delighted at the progress that Philippe and colleagues has already made, and also look forward to the contribution of the French Cochrane Centre to promote Cochrane in Paris and in France, but also through the French-speaking world. And I hope that all of you in this room will actually contribute to our mission and get involved in the future. I think this has been an important and very timely meeting. The mission of the Cochrane Collaboration is on this slide. In essence, we believe that citizens, patients, healthcare professionals, managers, policymakers, as well as researchers should have access to the best evidence when they're making their healthcare decisions. We believe that the best evidence is provided through systematic reviews of the totality of the available evidence, and that should include both published and unpublished evidence. David Tovey has highlighted how internally in Cochrane we value transparency, and we attempt to ensure that our processes and products are transparent. But our work is undermined by the lack of transparency in reporting primary research. The Tamiflu example that David and also a number of other people highlighted is truly shocking. We've been aware of publication and other biases for many, many years, but this is probably one of the most extreme examples that we've actually seen. And I think we need to explore whether the problems are as bad across other companies, other sectors, and other disease areas, and then work out what response Cochrane should make, picking up on Bernard Renan's comment earlier. What you've had presented is, I think, a truly interesting program from some of the world leaders in this area. And all of the people who are involved in Cochrane, but many of the work that they've done has also been outside of Cochrane, because we all have many different hats. Kay Dickerson has been really one of the world leaders in pointing out publication bias and challenging us to think about solutions. I first met her in 1994 in the Cochrane meeting in Hamilton, where I stumbled into a room where they were discussing trial registries at that time. And I remember Kay was there, Jean-Pierre Boissel was there, and various others. And at that time, I knew nothing about this, and I've learned a lot from Kay over that period of time. I think in her talk, she really sort of summarized the evidence that we have around publication bias and selective outcome reporting bias, but also highlighted why this matters. That actually, if we don't have full access to information, we may make the wrong decisions based upon the data that we've got. Peter's talk, I think, highlighted just the challenges that once you recognize the problem about poor publishing, to actually try and address that in a systematic way and get hold of all the data is truly challenging. There are many obstacles, and it becomes almost an impossible task. And I think also Peter Doshie's recent paper that Kay cited in PLOS ONE, again, highlights the practicalities of that. And this suggests that, as Gerd and Doug Altman were arguing, we need to think at a system level how we can make this easier and not leave it down to individual researchers thinking or trying to sort of spar with industry. What I wouldn't want you to do is go away and think, this is terrible, we can't believe anything published anywhere about anything. We don't know the extent of publication bias across all fields, and I'd hope that when we do Cochrane reviews, we present what data we can access, and if we can access unpublished data, we do that. But we also will mention the likelihood of either selective outcome reporting bias or publication bias, so you can judge that in your consideration of the trustworthiness of the review. But we're making progress, and we should remember that. The move towards trial registration has been led over at least a 20-year period by people like Kay and other people in this room, but the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, and then various jurisdictions such as US, but others as well that establish trial registries, and the World Health Organization. And trial registration should, as Doug mentioned, allow us to, as a minimum, it should allow us to diagnose whether publication bias is a problem, if it's appropriately implemented, but I think also it will make it harder for trialists to publish incomplete or to publish incomplete reports of the work that they've done. There's a growing interest and opportunity to publish trial protocols. Like Doug, I'm one of the editor-in-chief of the Trials Journal, and we routinely publish people's trial protocols. And as long as your trial is peer-reviewed and has been through an ethics board, it doesn't have to go out for it doesn't go further for peer review in the journal. And we try and make it relatively easy to publish protocols because we think this is just part of transparency, part of good practice. And I think there's an increasing opportunity to do that more often. We've also had mention of initiatives such as the Equator Network and the Open Initiative that both Gert and Doug mentioned. And again, these demonstrate, I think, the growing availability of groups around the world that are trying to promote better transparency and find practical solutions about how we can actually address this. This is then being folded into initiatives such as a GRADE initiative, which is really, I think, trying to produce a method which will facilitate guideline developers or policymakers to be transparent about what evidence they've considered and what different factors they've judged when they come to their policy recommendation. And all of these things should incrementally lead to significant improvements in transparency reporting of primary studies, and then I think in transparency of guideline and policy recommendations based upon those. So since I first met Kay, who introduced me to this, we've come a huge way along the way. We know that the problem still exists, but we, I think, are starting to develop a willingness internationally, both at an individual, at the researcher level and research community level, but also at a policy level, to address this. And to come back to Andrew Vicker's comments that the patients who participate in trials and primary studies would be shocked if we then said, well, we've not, you volunteered to participate in the study with the view that probably you're doing something that's going to advance knowledge, and because I, as a researcher, have chosen not to publish that, the world will not know about that. So we have a lot to do. We have, but we've come a long way as well. So I want to finish by thanking Philippe and his colleagues again for their support and organisation over the last 2 weeks. We've had a very good time in Paris. We've been incredibly well looked after, and we really look forward to ongoing engagement with the French Cochrane Centre. We would like everyone in this room to get involved in the Cochrane Collaboration in whatever way you want to do, and now you have a local champion who can help you do that. So please, I want you to besiege Philippe Ravo's inbox with offers to get involved in Cochrane over the next couple of weeks. And we'd also like to invite you to our parties. So each year we have an international colloquium, and this year in September it's in Auckland. And then I come from the Canadian Cochrane Centre, so I'm slightly biased. Just to highlight that in 2013 we're going to have our Cochrane Colloquium in Quebec City in Quebec, Canada. And this will be a special colloquium. It's going to be the 20th anniversary of the whole collaboration. So we really want to have a good party. And I hope that all of you will want to come and visit us there and learn more about this rather remarkable organization. So merci and au revoir.